What up, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Friendster, Princer, SoundCloud, SoundClick. It's your boy Tone 202 coming at you one more again with the menagerie of the day. And listen, before I get into this, I just want to say, for one, I'm tired. So I'm not going to ramble, but I'm going to try to remember, the basics of what I'm talking about here. As you can see, looking at Cam Newton, and I want to talk about sports, and for one reason, why I do not watch sports too much at all. I haven't watched a full game of football in, like, from start to finish, years. I can't I can't remember the last full game I watched within like the last 6 7 years. I just can't. And it has to be at least 20 years for basketball. I just do not watch basketball. I got disappointed with basketball when, well, not 20 years, when I noticed that the championships, it would seem like you already knew who was going to win. It just seems staged to me. Then I started watching college a lot more, and then in college ball, you had the whole confusion about college players getting paid, and some people say they should get paid, and some people say they shouldn't. And, you had that whole thing going on, and there has been, some issues about it, and that brings me up to Cam Newton. Now, we all know that Cam Newton had that investigation about his family, about his father, who is a minister, I believe. And, it found out that, he did not take the two installments of 186,000 or whatever number it was. It was a large amount of money for Cam Newton to go and play for the college team he played for and won a championship. Because before he played there, he was in a JUCO. He was in like a little small school. But of course, Cam Newton was like a man among boys, even when he was in D1. He's just great. And as you can see, even in the pros, Cam Newton is a ridiculous talent. That his first year he came out and he just threw for a ridiculous amount of yards, and they was like, whoa, like, what's going on here? And so he went through all those trials and whatnot, and and then of course the his beginning season start off good, the next season not so good. It had some issues there. I still think they should have kept Steve Smith. I would have actually watched the Panthers more if they kept Steve Smith, because he's dynamite, even though he was an older player. But nonetheless, getting to where we are today, well, last year, the Super Bowl. And I try to preface all that by saying there are major influences within sports that are behind the scenes. We all know this. We're not all sure who they are, but we all know this. We all assume that there are some illegal activities behind sports that are pulling the strings of the players. Now, I don't have any concrete evidence of this. However, we see it year after year when it comes to playoff time and or the actual, big game or games. We're like, what happened? Like, how did that happen? Let's just take last year. Let's just take when, Russell threw that pass and it got intercepted, right before they went into the end zone, and they were on like the 2 yard line, and you didn't give the ball to the number one rushing, uh, you know, good old beast mode himself. You didn't give the ball to beast mode. You had a first down, but you decided to throw the ball and it gets intercepted. That's the end of the game. It's like, why did that happen? You know what I mean? You guys who watch sports, everybody is always gonna want to know why. And then when you hear the coach, he said, "Well, the guy jumped the route," but it was, why did you throw that pass when beast mode, like the beast mode, is right here. Like the dude who's been doing that the whole season and getting into the end zone, you got at least 3 tries, and then you have a field goal. So you could try to run the ball twice, yada yada yada. That was then, and you see the look on Richard Sherman's face when that happened. He was just like what? Like why did we just do this? And I'm talking about the Seahawks game, but nonetheless, up to Cam Newton, the game. Now I know it's in the past, and it's in March, so but there's more. But there. Okay, Cam Newton fumbles the ball, and he looks like he didn't want to jump on top of the ball. And everybody is like, Cam threw the game. And then you got the whole influence of Cam running around in a Tinkerbell outfit and a dress. And when you start looking at the system and trying to look into the system, and looking at the record that they had, they were 17-1. They almost went undefeated. 17-1. Cam Newton is the best scrambling quarterback in the game, period. And it would have been Michael Vick, but Michael Vick is older now, even though he's still fast as heck. Plays for Pittsburgh now. But nonetheless, nobody can scramble like Cam Newton. He can scramble. The guy is like 6'4", 6'5". He's 240. He's a specimen. He is, he can run past you. The stuff that he can do and the things that he was doing all year round just left people dumbfounded. And he kicked it all year. And I like the way he did the fans. He gave away stuff to the fans. He just didn't care. He gave away his own shoes to a fan. He took them off right there and was just like, boom, signed him. Bam, Cam Newton. And I was like, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't even watch football, but I wanted to watch Cam celebrate his life with the fans. You know what I'm saying? I was drawn into that. I was drawn into his magnetism of the love of the game. Just celebrating, just having a good time. Drop back, look upfield, boom, 40, 50 yards, hits Teddy Ginn, bang, hits other receivers. Hell, he would have hit the damn lineman if he could. He would have threw the ball to them if it was legal. He was throwing it to any and everybody, which made him great. It was like just a year-long celebration of Cam Newton is what that was to me. I didn't watch too many games, but I watched a lot of highlights. And I'm saying all that to say this. Once he got to the big game, it just, from what I've seen, something was off. Now, some people are trying to say that his mom had a negative influence on him. I'm like, I don't see why. Because of the tweet, the mom was saying that he was blessed by God and highly favored. So I don't know where y'all get that from. And the man obviously is blessed by God and highly favored. And she was talking about, don't let the devil win. And, there's two, hot and cold water comes out of 2 different faucets. What are you going to be, hot and cold? I read the tweet, and it was a good tweet. And, she was just amping her son up, letting him know that, God got you. You know what I'm saying? But that same tweet bring questions of what was going on with Cam. And then his actions did not portray the same actions in the Super Bowl that they did all year long. Now, let's look at what happened to Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning went up against Seattle. What was it? Year before last, they lost 48-3. The Legion of Boom just made them not even want to play. Peyton Manning, his team, they were so afraid of catching the ball. His receivers were so afraid of catching the ball and getting hit. They didn't want nothing to do with the ball. They were catch the ball. It was a mess out there. And at the end of the game, like one of the linemen, he just sat on the bench and he just could not believe they just lost the Super Bowl 48-3. It was terrible. And then Manning, of course, had to answer for all that. And, and Manning is a G. This dude has been in it for a long time. He did the best he could to answer the questions, even though he was hurting on the inside. And of course, then he comes back next year and he wins. Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing. He comes back. Oh, hold on a second. I'm sorry. My microphone. He comes back next year and he wins. Now, his defense, the defense was the best against the passing. So there's no doubt about that. It was the best defense going up against the best offense in the game. That's really what it was. And, you didn't think you were going to see a blowout, and it really wasn't a blowout. It was a half-decent game, but Cam Newton was not the same Cam Newton that we've seen all year. Even though he was down, he's such an electric person that and he's been down during the year. His energy has still allowed your teammates to know that, look, we are still in this. We could still come back and win. And a lot of times that's exactly what happened. But that wasn't the Cam Newton that we saw in the game. And like I said, I'm saying all this to say, for the conspiracy theorists, we don't know what happened to Cam Newton during the game. And we are not Cam Newton. For one, I'm nowhere near Cam Newton's stature. I can't do none of what he can do. Although I could throw the ball pretty far, and I still can, and I'm almost 50. But I can't do what he can do, and that's just that. I can throw the ball like I don't know, 40 yards maybe. Anyway, so I'm going somewhere with this. When we look into football, we think that we're going to get a fair and square game. That's what we think. We want to believe that there's no one behind these games. There's no eye in the sky. There's no, bunch, a small group of influential men saying, hey, you better throw this game. We want to believe that none of those influences are there. But what if they are there? This is why I stopped watching these games. Because it made no sense to me. And like I said, I'm not Cam. But it made no sense to me for him not to jump on that ball. It just made no sense. And I'm not Cam. I mean, Cam's got his own reasons. But from what you've seen, the highlights of what you've seen all the way up to that, it just was so uncharacteristic. The whole game was uncharacteristic. And I don't know who influenced Cam during the game. I don't know what happened. What I do know is I do not believe when these guys go out and hit the field, especially during the big games, I don't believe that they're acting on their own recognizance. I just don't. I think it's all a show. It's all $1 million, $1 billion show. It's a $1 billion industry. It's a $1 billion show, and you either play the game or you're gone. And sometimes gone means gone. You ever heard that country song where there's gone for good and there's good and gone? What kind of gone are we talking about here? There's people who have just disappeared. There's people who are in jail. There's people who just have retired early. There's people who have walked away from the game because they're just like, I'm not doing this anymore. And, there's all kind of gone. And I want Cam to be great. I think he's a great dude. I want him to be great. I want to see him get some rings, him and Russell. I think, from what little I know, I think they're great dudes. I want them to be as great as possible. But I don't think it's up to them. Now, it wouldn't surprise me if he wins a Super Bowl next year. But I think no matter what Cam Newton did, he was supposed to throw that game, no matter how much he wanted to win. I think he got caught in the crosshairs of the system, is what I'm saying. And I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I'm just a guy at home who doesn't even have cable. Hell, I don't even got a TV. But I could be wrong. But I think Manning was supposed to win. Because we all know that Manning's not coming back. He's done. And I don't really have a problem with Manning winning. I have a problem with the games being fixed. And this is why they don't get my money anymore. I don't wear their paraphernalia, and I just do not believe in the system. And that's all there is to it. I just don't. I truly believe that Peyton Manning was supposed to win. And no matter what my man Cam did, he was going to lose to this guy. And I want somebody to come out of nowhere and tell me that I'm wrong. I want to believe in the honesty of the game. Because back when I played in high school and before, I played all the way up until high school, and I didn't want to play in college. I was interested in just running track. But I played the game because it was honest. I played on a team that never won, but we loved to play. And then I played on a championship team, and we only lost once. We went out of state and got our ass kicked. We lost 14-0, but nonetheless, our coaches, they were hell, they were crying. We weren't even crying because we never lost in 2 years when I played on that team, Bellevue Colts. But I played on another team. We lost all the time. But I tell you what, we had a damn good time. I want to believe in the honesty of the game is where I'm going. And I don't think that there's honesty in any of these games. I think they're all fixed to some degree. I think they're all fixed. And I think Cam Newton's action was a testament of what I really believe is going on in pro football. I hate to say it, but I think he is, I don't want to use the word puppet, but I think he's being controlled. I think somebody's telling him what to do. Because truthfully, Cam is so good, and when he has the right people with him, which he did, I don't think there's a team in the league within the next 5 years, if he had that same crew, or at least, that same crew, because he didn't have the best wide receivers. He had a great line. He had a great line that protected him, and even when he was able to slip through. I think within the next I'm going to say the next 5 to 7 years, if the game was honest, I would say Cam Newton would pull down at least 3 Super Bowl rings, at least. And I would say it would be in between him, Russell Wilson, Peyton Manning, and throwing a wild card in there. Maybe, I don't know who you got. Maybe the Pittsburgh Steelers might come out of nowhere and grab one. I don't know if Roethlisberger stayed healthy. Hell, maybe Green Bay. You know what I'm saying? Aaron Rodgers, he's still dope. It's all get out. Or, you may even throw in the Vikings, Teddy Bridgewater. With that dynamite running back that they got, who is player of the year again. Adrian Peterson. But I think if the game was honest when it came down to the big game, to the championship games, and then finally the Super Bowl, especially the Super Bowl, I think if the game was honest, in the next 7 years, Cam Newton would win at least 3, at least. Peyton is finished, so that's out. And like I said, Russell is pretty much on the coattails of Cam Newton, but they just have a better coach. And he'd probably take 2. Cam would take 3. And then, like I said, you'd have maybe Aaron Rodgers 1, Teddy Bridgewater 1, or maybe the Pats, most hated team in the league, would finally take 1 more, and then we'd be done with the Pats for a decade. So I don't know. Somebody can go ahead and chime in, hit me up, fill me in with some information, tell me what they know, because I would love to believe in football again, but I just don't. And yeah, that's just my take on what happened. And I know it's late and all, but I wish this black man all the best. And let me fix that. Not because he's black, because I enjoyed watching Peyton Manning play. I'm a fan of Peyton Manning and his ability to be the best general I've ever seen. I'm a fan of him. I'm a fan of just talent. So when you exhume your talent and it just spreads all over the field, that's what Peyton Manning does. That's why he's great, because he can say something and it is as good as money. This guy, Peyton, could be a coach, and I'm telling you, he would still be just that doggone dynamic. And I think Cam Newton as a player can be that dynamic. I think these two, they're not opposite. They're not of each other. They're just 2 types of different quarterbacks that can dominate for, 10, 15 years on and off the field, is what I'm saying, with their style of playing and what they know. And that's why I say I wish him the best. You know what I'm saying? And I'm glad Peyton got his ring, or, whatever. But I think the game was fixed. It's your boy Tone 202. That's just my 2 cents piece.